The disciples have arrived. You're boring. And you don't know why you're boring, but you feel like you're boring. And that's okay. I'm here to tell you why you're boring. No fancy intros, nothing. Getting straight to the point. I got my notes too, just so you know I'm prepared. I always stay prepared. You know what I'm saying? Number one, you have no life experience. You have no life experience. This is the most important piece of advice I could give anybody here. Life experience is key to everything. That's how we relate to other people. That's how we draw connections to what people are saying. Life experience. But you have no life experience. You either stay at home all day or you go to work and go straight home, binge watch Scandal or whatever show you like to watch, and you have nothing to talk to about with people because you have no life experience. I want you to right now think about the funniest person you know or the most interesting person you know. What makes them funny and what makes them interesting? Life experience. They have experiences to draw from. And guess what? What separates a funny person from a normal person is the gap of experiences. Because when you have this much experience, there is less to draw from. But when you have this much experience, you can draw from anything. Look at Cat Williams, for instance. Cat Williams was recently on the Shannon Sharp podcast. Shout out to my brother Shannon. And he was sitting there talking about his life experiences.
You go to Florida, you tell the story of you were homeless. And right. Somebody else told the story, said they were homeless, and you said they hijacked your story. Now
At 13, I shouldn't have to tell you I'm homeless. I'm in Miami, Florida. I have no family members in Florida. I couldn't buy a house if I wanted to. I couldn't get an apartment if I wanted
Correct.
to. I don't have a credit history. This is not a stretch for me to say that I'm homeless. I'm living in a park in Coconut Grove. The park still exists to this day. Mm-hmm. For 8 hours a day, I would get up and go to the library and study for 8 hours a day to increase my education.
Even when he's telling jokes, it's things that happened in his life that he's talking about. How he was homeless from the age of 12, got a scholarship to go to college before he was even 15, and how he's hopping homeless state to homeless state to homeless state to, trying to get into clubs by doing stand-up comedy for free. It makes him a very interesting person. It adds depth to his character. So you have to go out there, get life experience to add depth to your character. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. Number one, if you're a university student, between the ages of 18 and 22, even if you're a grad student, 26, 27 plus, undergrad, graduate school, PhD, I don't care. This advice applies to you. Clubs. Join social clubs. Because guess what? Clubs is the best way to get exposure to people, and it's the best way to align yourself to your interests, right? So if you're into music, for instance, you can join a jazz club, right? Go to the jazz club, play your little saxophone solos and whatnot. And guess what? When you talk to somebody and they ask you, do you have any cool hobbies? Oh yeah, I'm in the music club at school and I play saxophone. And then, wow, you play saxophone? That's very interesting. Then they can talk about a relative that they know that plays saxophone, or, draw from a lot of different places. You know what I mean? But if you don't have that life experience, if you have all these interests that are boiled up inside, but you're wasting your life inside, not sharing these interests with other people, how do you expect people to say that you're somebody interesting or somebody that they want to talk to? It makes no sense whatsoever. Go out there and get life experience, okay? My point number 2, my notes. Solo trips. What does that mean by solo trips? A lot of you fall into the trap of, if I'm not with my friends, I'm not going. I have the luxury of living on the East Coast, a little bit closer to New York. So Times Square is right there. If you guys know anything about Times Square, it is dirty and it is crackhead central. That's the best place to get life experience. Oh my God, the amount of conversations I had over there with some crackheads, bro. It built my character. That crackhead on the corner of 42nd and 8 built my character, bro. Built my character. I'm telling you, solo trips is the best. Go to places by yourself and force yourself to talk to people, right? Go to restaurants and talk to the barista, talk to the waiter. You will get so much experience just by talking to other people. And when you're going by yourself, you kind of force yourself to have a good time, right? And number 3, social spaces, right? This is more so for my older audience, right? When you reach a certain age, right? Let's say you're, what age would I even say? Even when you're like, 24, 25 plus, 2-3 years out of undergrad, you got your job or whatever else you're doing, right? It's going to be a lot harder to maintain your friends, right? A lot harder to maintain your social relationships. So what ends up happening? You fall into this safety net. You have a bubble. And within this bubble you use to mitigate your stress. You go to work all day, you're tired. You just want to go home, drink some wine, watch your favorite TV show. It's easy to do that every single day. It's easy to waste your life looking at a screen every single night. It gives you comfort. Yes, I understand it gives you comfort, but you can't fix you being boring by you staying home. You have to go outside these different social spaces. And what are these social spaces? If you're older and you have a little bit of money, Pilates, right? There's a lot of smaller social events that go on, like parties, or you can join a book club. There's clubs for anything. There's clubs for people who like tea. Beats me. But what I'm trying to say is find a social space within a niche that you enjoy. Go out there, find people, talk to people, and then you'll realize you're not as boring as you think. The second reason why you're boring is what I like to call question mode. When somebody asks you a question, or no, better yet, when you are talking to somebody, you get into question mode. You start asking them all these types of interrogations, like they just got arrested and they're in an interrogation room for a RICO. Talk about how's your semester going? Taking any hard classes? Oh, how do you feel about this teacher? Oh, what do you think about this restaurant over here? Your form of conversation is, what do you think? It's a lot of what abouts, what do you think, instead of statements that lead to other statements from the other person. So let me give you an example, right? If I were to see my friend who I haven't seen in a while, let's say it was winter break and I came back to school, right? A lot of you would just default to, how was your break? What did you do? What did you see? Mind you, these are great opening questions for somebody you haven't seen in a long time. But how about you come in and you open up with something that happened to you? So then it gives other people the space to open up to what happened to them. Over break, man, I went to the club with my boys, and then when we came out, there were these crackheads haggling us for money, man. I threw them a 5 and she called me broke. You know what I mean? They laugh, and then they add another statement like, oh man, that happened, something similar happened to me like, 4, 5, 6 months ago. You see, natural progression of conversation. You know what I mean? And I don't do that by asking question after question after question, right? Which leads into my next point. You don't know how to ask about other people, right? Not necessarily that you don't ask about other people, but you don't know how to. I want to preface again by saying there's nothing wrong with asking questions. It's just, it doesn't add depth to your character because people are not finding out about you when you ask too many questions. That's just the fact. That's just the fact. People are not finding out about you and the depth of your character if you are asking too many questions, right? And you don't know how to ask about other people, right? So what does this mean? It means the example I was just giving before, when you start getting into question mode, right? There are certain ways to ask a question without asking a question, right? For instance, let's say I'm talking about hair. Just an example that just came to me out of nowhere. Let's say I'm talking about hair and you want to ask somebody how they maintain their hair and how they make it look nice. You can open it up not by saying, oh, how do you maintain your hair? How do you make it look nice? Which in and of itself is not a bad statement, but you can add something to yourself and bring it into the conversation. Like, for instance, you can say, yo, I've been trying to maintain my hair for the longest, but I have crazy breakage. So then they say, oh, you have breakage too? I have breakage as well, but I use this product to make it to fix it. See how they answered the question, but you didn't even have to ask a question, but now they know something about you, and then you related it to something that happened to them. And it's layers to this. It's layers to this, right? But it's just a very simple formula. Sometimes you just have to ask a question without asking the question to seem more interesting, to add depth to your character, right? So with all that being said, I will break it down further on, you know, how to have these type of meaningful conversations, how to appear interesting on my Patreon at a future date. But for right now, I have an exercise that I want everybody watching this to do, right? I want you to pick anything around you and write down how it relates to you. So then in the future, you're training that muscle, right? So you're able to draw connections to the little things around you. Like for instance, I'm gonna look around, I see a pick, right? I use this pick every morning to pick out my hair, right? Sometimes if I use it too much, I get breakage. I had another pick just like this last week, but I had to replace it because it started rusting, right? That's just 3 things I just drew from this pick. So next time I get in a conversation when somebody's talking about hair, I could bring up, oh yeah, bro, you ever use a pick? Like, I really don't like these, bro. I'm trying to find an alternative, you know, because my last one was rusting. You see, that I have nothing else to say. I really hope this video helped you on figuring out why you're boring, gave you an exercise to help you figure that out. And for my next video, I'll probably elaborate on it further. But for right now, I hope this helps you in your social interactions, man. Disciples, we out.